Hey friends, it's Sarah. So today we're going to be talking about what TV shows I watched in 2017, what I thought of them, and what I'm going to be watching in 2018. In 2016, I did a video on this channel called the TV Show Tag, where I talked about all the different TV shows that I watch, and I listed a bunch of TV shows that I watched in that video. So now I'm just gonna start by naming the TV shows I watch. Yeah, it's just a ridiculously long list, and of course, since that was a year and a half ago, that list has only grown to just a crazy extent. Okay, now just to list the shows that I binge watched in 2017. So I watched 13 Reasons Why, which was a Netflix show that was really highly talked about at the start of the year. I watched The OA, which was another Netflix show, which is just really weird and like a mind bender. I watched Drunk History, which I got really weirdly into and binge watched the entire thing because it makes me laugh so hard. I got into a huge binging thing with Unreal, which is a really interesting show that's like kind of like The Bachelorette, but it's like what goes on behind the scenes, and it's just like really dramatic and interesting. I binge watched the entirety of the OC because I missed that stage when that happened, and I just like really wanted to understand what the deal with like Adam Brody or whatever it was, and so I watched the entire thing and was like super obsessed with it. For whatever reason, I decided to binge watch Friends again because don't we all do that every once in a while? I binge watched Stranger Things because almost all of us did that this year because Stranger Things, it's just so good. I binge watched Hot American Summer 10 Years Later because that whole series is just so weird, and I don't know if I love it or hate it, but I can't help but watch it every single time they release something about it. I finally decided to binge watch Game of Thrones, although I think I only got to like the third or fourth season and I didn't finish because there's just so much there and it's so heavy of a topic. I watched the first season of Feud, Betty and Joan, which I was just absolutely obsessed with because I love that, you know, golden era of Hollywood, and stars like Bette Davis and Joan Crawford are just like the loves of my heart, so I just loved watching that show. And then I also watched the Hulu original The Handmaid's Tale, which was just so good. Like all the hype, I was like, it's probably gonna be fine, I'm not gonna love it. And then my cinematography teacher at school made us watch a clip from the show, and I was like immediately hooked, and I immediately went home after class and started watching it, and then by the next day I was done watching the entirety of that show. So there are honestly probably more shows that I watched in 2017, but those are just the ones I could think of off the top of my head. Those were all, like, for the most part, the pretty big ones of the year. I feel like a lot of people were talking about 13 Reasons Why at the start of the year, and The Handmaid's Tale was like huge at like the award shows. So yeah, those were some of the big ones of the year, I feel. Okay, so now the shows that I kind of slept on this year that I either watched like previous years and just like gave up on or whatever. The Crown season 2 came out just like in December, I believe, and I never watched season 2 because I kind of discussed watching it with my friends and then it like didn't happen, and so I still just haven't gotten around to watching it, but I was so obsessed with season 1. So hopefully this year, at some point, I will watch The Crown season 2. Riverdale. I watched the first season of Riverdale in 2017 as it was coming out like weekly, like right when it premiered. I for some reason was like, I'm gonna watch this show now. And then after the first season ended, I was kind of like, it's like fine, but like all the hype, whatever, and I just never watched the second season. But now I'm like hearing something about like a black hoodie or something. This seems like this feels like Pretty Little Liars. I feel like I need to watch it. So at some point in 2017, I'm gonna watch Riverdale. Again, Game of Thrones, I only watched up to season 3 or 4, so I need to finish that. But thankfully I have till 2019 because they're not even gonna show it in 2018. So I have a while to catch up on Game of Thrones. Okay, and the last two go together, Twin Peaks and The X-Files. Both have reboot shows. Part of the reboot of Twin Peaks has already come out. I don't know if it's done or if they're doing more, but I haven't watched that at all. And I actually only watched the first season of Twin Peaks, like the original series, and I never watched the second season, so I need to watch the second season, then I need to watch the reboot. And then X-Files as well. I only ever watched like the first 2 seasons maybe, and then I never watched anything else, but now with the reboot, I gotta catch up. And then of course there are many shows that I wish I had watched. That is a tongue twister. That I wish I had watched? Oh my god, I can't say this. There were many shows that I wish I had watched, yes, in 2017 because there were so many good shows, just not enough time, and too many streaming services. The first show I wish I had watched was The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which I did not realize until the Golden Globes that Amy Sherman-Palladino was part of that, and I'm obsessed with her, so I have to watch that show. It looks so good, but I believe it's on Amazon, and so that's just like a whole other streaming service you have to deal with. I'm sort of interested in watching The Good Place. I've seen things about it, and like people are talking about it and saying it's really funny, and I don't have any comedies on my list. The only comedy that I watch weekly is Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but like I'm so obsessed with it, I watch it every time an episode happens. Yeah, I need like a comedy I can just sit down and binge, like The Good Place. Everybody talks about this show all the time and I haven't watched it, Black Mirror. Everywhere I go, people are like, have you watched Black Mirror? Do you know this episode of Black Mirror? I'm like, I've never watched Black Mirror. In 2017, hopefully I'll finally get around to watching Black Mirror because everybody talks about it all the time. But I didn't realize like the seasons are really short, like there's only a few episodes. So I guess I could do it pretty quickly. But another Netflix show I could do pretty quickly, Dark. That's a new one. That one like just came out and it's German and it seems really interesting, and I watched like the first minute of the first episode and then realized it was German, and then I wasn't sure if I should watch it with like the English dubbed version or if I should watch the actual German version it was filmed in and then like have English subtitles. That feels like the same thing to do, but it's kind of annoying, so I don't really know. I'm also interested in watching Legion, which I haven't actually heard anything about in a really long time, but it looked really interesting and it was on my list and I just never got around to it. And of course, the show that everybody was talking about this year, Big Little Lies, I so want to watch. And that's another one that is on Amazon, I think, which is why I just haven't gotten around to watching it. It's just too hard to have all these streaming services. I don't have Amazon, whatever you're supposed to have. So that brings you to a good roundup of what I've watched in 2017, what I wanted to watch, and what I need to catch up on. So I just wanted to list a few of my favorite moments in TV on 2017 because I feel like there were a lot of really good ones. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to try to say anything too spoilery, but Brooklyn Nine-Nine definitely had a few standout moments. Again, I don't want to say anything spoilery, but there were so many really good things that happened this season, and I'm just so excited for Brooklyn Nine-Nine because it's really like turning into a standout show for me, and I'm sad that it's not getting recognized more for doing like, I don't know, just really interesting and relevant things. So I hope it gets better recognition in the future. And I've heard rumors of cancellation, so I'm really nervous for it. If you haven't watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you should check it out because it is really good. Two shows that were in their first season that I was so obsessed with were Feud, Betty and Joan, and The Handmaid's Tale. Like I said, The Handmaid's Tale I'd binge watched in just one weekend and I was so obsessed with. So I'm really excited for season 2, and I feel like that show was just like such a standout in 2017, and I recommended it to like all of my friends and family because I'm so obsessed with it. I was even like, you could use my Hulu account, like just watch it, it's so good. Feud, Betty and Joan. Feud, Betty and Joan I like surprisingly didn't recommend to a lot of people because it felt like weirdly personal to me. I got so attached to it in the weirdest way where like I only talked about it to my mom. I think one of my friends was watching it and like nobody else was. I don't know, something about it, especially the last episode. I've since rewatched the last episode and both times that I've watched it I have sobbed. Absolute mess, sobbed. Something about it, I don't know why, just like really attaches to me. I feel like it was like a really hot topic this year and that it like came down to like women and women supporting women and women being pitted against each other. If you're really into old Hollywood, like all 1950s or 1960s cinema, you should watch this show because I feel like it really captures that era really perfectly and also says something about it that's important. Feud, Betty and Joan wasn't just about like reenacting what happened. It was about reenacting it and like taking something away from it. A big milestone event that I really liked was Grey's Anatomy. I think it was their 300th episode, which is just absolutely crazy, and I'm like positive that it was the 300th episode, but I just say that I don't know because that seems so ridiculous. I am just surprised at the longevity of Grey's Anatomy, and there are definitely seasons where I watch and I was like, oh my god, I hate Grey's Anatomy, and seasons where I was like, Grey's Anatomy is everything, and this season is definitely one of those seasons where I'm like, they're just doing something really good. Like, they've been in this show for so long, 300 episodes, and they're like still testing the boundaries and trying out new things, and I found that so interesting, and it makes it so worthwhile to stick around. And then another big milestone, but in such a different way, the Mindy Project. The Mindy Project ended this year, and it was like the biggest heartbreak of my television year. I'm obsessed with Mindy Kaling and the Mindy Project, and I'm gonna follow her wherever she goes after this because I just love everything she does. If you love The Office, specifically Mindy and her character, you should totally watch the Mindy Project because man, that girl's perfect. Another show that ended in 2017 was The Vampire Diaries. The Vampire Diaries was the first show that I ever watched that wasn't on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. Obviously, I formed a huge attachment to The Vampire Diaries, and when it ended, it was just like the biggest sob fest of my life. I was hanging out with my friend Lauren like several months after the show ended, and I started talking about it and how I felt about it, and I started sobbing. Like, sobbing. My makeup was everywhere because I was just like, that was epic. Like, can we just it was that show that like I started when I was in middle school, watched for the entirety of high school and then into college, and like it ended, and that was just so weird, but I loved it so much and I sobbed the entire time. So the only thing I haven't talked about from 2017 that I was absolutely obsessed with was the 100. I never remember if I'm supposed to say the 100 or the 100. Every time I feel like I say it wrong and people yell at me. So I'm just gonna say the 100 because that's what I say. But it probably is wrong. Previously on the 100. I think it's the 100. Previously on the 100. Ooh, well anyway, it's 101 plus Bellamy, so. But either way, I just could not mention my favorite shows of 2017 without mentioning the 100 because I binge watched the entirety of that show more than once this year. I think 2 or 3 times because I just got so obsessed with season 4. It was so good. And so I'm sorry if you're someone that watched the show and stopped watching for certain reasons in season 3, but the show is really good. And they've worked really hard to like maintain what they had and to bring back what they had lost. And the setup for season 5 was just absolutely crazy and made me even more obsessed, which brings me into my next and last category, which is what am I excited for TV in 2018? And the first thing on the list is definitely the return of the 100, which comes on April 24th. So, you know, you should all catch up. It's all 4 seasons are on Netflix. But anyway, I'm obsessed with 100 and I will preach for it forever. So yeah, the 100 is definitely the top of my list for exciting for 2018. Also on the CW, I'm really excited for The Originals is ending, which attaches to the whole Vampire Diaries thing because it's a spin-off. I've definitely been a lot less attached to The Originals. I haven't even watched the most recent season, so I have to catch up on that. I'm definitely excited to see how it ends because that wraps up everything for not just the originals, but all of the characters on the Vampire Diaries. Like, it'll be the last time we'll see any of them. So I'm definitely gonna catch up and watch the finale for that because it's just a really weird end to that final chapter of the Vampire Diaries. I'm also super excited for The Handmaid's Tale Season 2. As I said, The Handmaid's Tale was basically my favorite show of 2017, so I'm so excited for Season 2 because I'm really interested to see where they're gonna go and like what more could happen in that crazy world because it's already pretty crazy. I'm excited for Feud Season 2, which is going to be Charles and Diana, the royal family. So I'm so excited for Season 2, which I have no idea when that comes out. I hope it comes out in 2017. It better. Anyway, that was TV for me in 2017 and what I'm looking forward to in 2018 and 2019. Game of Thrones, come on. If there's anything I missed that you think I should watch that you want to recommend to me, let me know in the comments down below because I'm always looking for more things to watch. That list is just like ever expanding. So you can leave that in the comments below because I'll watch it. But if not, I hope you like gained something from this random TV rant and I hope you watch some of these shows. Mostly the 100. And I also hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching and I hope I see you again next Sunday. Bye guys. Ugh, got an itch in my leg. And The Handmaid's Tale obviously was huge at the Golden Globes that just happened. No, not when you saw this, it didn't. Anyway,